Welcome to HeKate's Crossing. Now what I'm doing is I'd watched Blue Crescent Moon. I'd watched her VR to Brian Cormack Carr. Now this is an old one that Blue Crescent Moon has revised. It's called Tarot Tools Trio. Okay, the first one is 3 essential tarot decks. The next one is 3 essential tarot books. And 3 tarot spreads, and then plus a wild card tool. Okay, so let's have a look. First things first, as we get into this, to one side. Okay, 3 tarot decks. Now, so hard because my moods change all the time, of course. But I think the first one is the first deck that I ever really sort of connected with, and that is the Native American Tarot. I think this is a deck for me that has been very essential in my tarot practice. It's definitely a deck that I don't think I will ever remove from it. Now, another deck I think from a New Zealand, I think because it's cultural, New Zealand, I think it's sort of the land, it sort of really is that connection. I think for me is the Maori Tattoo Tarot by Roxana Paul. I just think it's beautifully done. There's a lot of respect in it. It is just gorgeous. The artwork is stunning. And it just has this real sacredness about it. And I think that's what's really important for me. So I find will be part of the essentials practice for me. Something that I would definitely not get rid of. Okay, and then the last deck was thinking about sort of Tarot de Marseille, really for me. And so I sort of think would be the Spanish Tarot. I love the colours in it. I love sort of the characters. So I think that's really, just something about it. Just gives me that real nostalgic sort of feel about it. The Spanish Tarot. I love it. Okay, in saying that, the first of my tarot books is, I think, for me, has been a real essential part of my practice, has been Julia and Derek Parker, Predicting Your Future. Now, I know it's got I Ching and runes in it as well, but it's the tarot section that I think has been a real bonus for me. It's been one that's been quite proficient in my practice. So, yeah, I think this is a great book. Now, the other one I think that's been quite important, of course, is Benabel Wen's Holistic Tarot. It's been a huge part of my practice as well, especially of recent. And Lisa's book, Mindful Tarot, is another one that's been really essential too. I just find I just sort of really connect with what she sees about the tarot cards and her practices, and the whole mindful way seems to be quite an important part of my practice as well. Okay, so saying that, spreads. Okay, spreads vary all the time, but I think depending on the actual deck, let's do the Native American first, and I'll just show you one of my spreads that I love to do. Now this is just a medicine wheel, okay, and I'm just going to do a really small, I'm not going to get too complicated. One of the spreads I do is quite large, and I have shown it on the page before, and it is one of my ones that I would go to for if I'm doing a really large reading for a client. But do I want to show you that? Yeah, let me show you my essential part of when I'm doing a large reading for a client. And, oh, so there we are. So we start with the autumn. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1. Now, of course, we're not going to have the space here. 3. So that's the autumn side of it. And from autumn, we go into the autumn into winter, right? So 1. I mean, this can be laid out any way you like, but this is just basic. Okay, so we got the autumn, we've got the winter. Okay, from winter we go into spring. And of course, you can lay them out a little bit more if you've got more space. It's just to show you. Okay, so you're going from the autumn. So think, what does autumn mean to you? What does winter mean to you? What does spring mean to you? And what does summer mean to you? Okay, what I do is I get the client to think about the seasons. And once the client's thought about what each means for them for the seasons, then we sort of go through and have a look at the reading. And then we're going into the heart of the situation. Okay, so you're looking at what is the autumn. So to me, autumn is about letting things go. So it's about looking at, what do you need to let go of. Okay, the winter is about being stuck, being frozen, if you like. It's very cold. So it's what are you stuck on at this time. The spring is about growth and expansion. So what do you need to grow and expand? And summer to me is about maintaining. So you're maintaining something at this time. What do you need to keep doing, or how do you maintain whatever it is that you have been growing? And then the heart of the actual situation with what's actually been going on. It sort of gives you an overview of what's happening. So that's my basic spread. I would normally read face-to-face with a client, maybe a half-hour, 45-minute reading, depending on sort of what comes out and how in-depth the client actually needs. It varies. Sometimes the readings can be quite quickish. Other times it can be a lot more in-depth, depending on what the actual client needs. So that's my essential spread that I would do with the Native American Tarot if I'm doing something a little bit more in-depth. Okay, so that's one spread. Okay, so let me do the New Zealand, the Maori Tattoo Tarot. Now, for me, it's the 3 baskets of knowledge. Now, 3 baskets of knowledge can be lots of different things. It can be the past, present, future. It can be any 3 spread, really. Any 3 card spread. But it can also be, if you're wanting something a little bit more, this is the one I like to do. It's a little bit like the 3 horns in the Native American, but with being the New Zealand, the Kitty spread, the 3 baskets. Okay, so this is the one I like to do, is where I put down 3 cards, but I actually want to add another layer to it. And I could, if I want something a little bit more in depth, add another layer to it. And then we're going to read each basket depending on what the information is. You're going to read column by column by column. Okay, so it's basically, with being the New Zealand, it's just 3 baskets of knowledge is what I like to do with this one here. And you can add as many layers as you want to with whatever you want to do. You can use whatever spreads, whatever cards you've got. It doesn't really matter. Just this is one one of the ones I like to do in regards to working with the Maori Tattoo Tarot. Okay, so the next one is, of course, the Spanish Tarot. So what spreads do I actually like to do with this? Now, there's many great spreads, but I think the one I love doing, and I'm just going to do a really short version of it. I'm not going to go into too much depth here just because of space and everything, I think. Just makes it really hard. So let us begin. 1, okay. Then we have 2, okay, 3, and then we've got 4, and will I fit in, just because of the space really, I should have cleared some of the table away, but let's do, oops, 5. Okay, so what we do is then this looks as though we've got the past, the present, and the future. Okay, so what we're looking at here is we look at what's been going on sort of immediately to the past, okay, and what's been going on further back, and what's going on right now, whoops, and then the future cards are here. So you can choose to read like 1, 2, the 3 cards here, right, and you're going back this one to here, right? So you're reading this row, then you read 1, 2, 3, 4, then you might read 1, 2, 3. You can decide how you want to combine the cards depending on what's going on. For me, it varies. Even though I've laid the cards out like this and I've got an idea of what they all mean, I then sort of look at what the layout means to me in my head. I then look at maybe these 3 cards, maybe I look at these 3 cards here, might look at these 3 cards here, look at these 3 cards here, might look at those 3, and those 3. So there's a lot of, it feels like there's a lot of doubling up, but it actually tells you another aspect of the story when you start combining the cards in these 3 here. Okay, so you can do them any way you like that you feel works for you. This is just the layout, and then you decide how you're going to read the cards. Whether you do like this side and then that side and then the centerpiece, or however you feel works for you. Trust your own intuition. I think that's really important when you're laying out a spread. Even though the book might suggest, oh, you do it this way, this way, this way, this way, you might find yourself being drawn to use the cards slightly different. You might choose to read the cards maybe in a different position. So I think that's really important when you're looking at tarot spreads. For me, is about, yeah, I might do them how the book suggests to start with, but the more I use them, I find it's more about what works for me as an individual, what works for my client as well, the querent. So what works for them, what gives them the message that they need. I think that's really important. So that's the 3 spreads. Okay, now the actual extra tool. Okay, the tool can be many different things. And I think one essential tool practice or tool for me, even with the readings and things like that, maybe as part of the sort of the tarot, can be more about the oracle cards or something like that. I think the most, there's a few things that are really essential to me. One is the incense, and that varies depending on what I want, what I need. Tea lights is definitely part of the thing. But I think one of the big practices is actually my pendulum, even about just clearing the energy. Just sometimes I just feel like it just helps clear away any negative energy or any vibrations that I feel aren't conducive to the reading at this time. It could be something the client's holding on to, or and it just feels like the readings are just not clear enough, or something just needs to be cleared. So do the cards need to be cleared, and it just clears them. And I think that's just part of my practice. It's just part of, and I think using the crystal here, I've got lapis lazuli. It just brings that in the Metatron cube. It just allows that sense of healing coming into the space, and I think that's really important practice. So anyway, that's it from me. Don't forget to check the links below. Check the links on my channel. Like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you know when the next video will be uploaded. Take care and blessed be.